guys, it's Jackie over at Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family, and it is time to fill out your homeschool PSA for the state of California. If you like these kinds of videos, do me a favor, give this a thumbs up, like it, comment, come join me over on Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family's Facebook group. You can also find me on all the normal social medias, down at the bottom for details. Okay, let's get into it. So all you need to do is go to this www.cde.ca.gov. The link will also be in the bottom, or you can always Google it. And this just goes through and tells you all the nice details. You just click Private School Affidavit, and this pops up. This actually walks you through whether or not you should be filing an affidavit. Start with you're enrolling kids who are, or students who are not enrolled full-time in any other public or private elementary or secondary school, kindergarten through 12th. You are agreeing here to provide instruction, in the several branches of study required to be taught. This is one of those things. I've done another video on the subjects you need to cover in the state of California. Some people say, but that's not on the list. Well, it's in the affidavit, so you are agreeing to cover them. You should not fill this out if you're only doing supplemental or tutorial instruction, if you're only doing one subject, such as a foreign language, driver's ed, driver's training, if you're only doing preschool, transitional kindergarten, or any student younger than 4 years, 9 months. Still, remember, you do not have to put a child in school until they are 6 years old, so there is a little gap there. And you do not have students enrolled yet. If you offer a high school diploma but don't provide instruction in the several subjects. So I'm not sure when you would give a diploma and not teach it, but apparently it's a thing. You can also read these lovely instructions or just follow along with me. So you're going to say, yes, I am a full-time private school. No, proceed with the blank affidavit. If you filled out last year's, go ahead. I'm just not going to do mine right now. And now we get into the actual affidavit. Start with the name of school. So I'll just put name of school. Secret. If you don't know, I'm not filling out my affidavit right now. You don't need to see all my private info. County school district. If you have more than 6 students or 6 or more students, you'll have a CDE code. Most are not going to. You pick out what county you live in, what school district you live in. I'm in Fresno. Co-educational, boys only or girls only. I've always been told, always choose co-educational. Choose a lot of the generic phrases, even if you only have boys or only have girls. Those are things that all can get you flagged for the state to look at a little more closely. What does flagged mean? I don't know. I just know I don't want any additional information or attention from the California Department of Education. So let's get into it. Similarly, you're a day-only school. You're not a residential boarding program, even though, yes, I'm clear, your students live at home. You're still a day-only school. Does the school provide special education? This is one of those things that is a bit iffy depending on how you look at it. You see here it's got a question mark, and you can get more information. If you are homeschooling a student who already has a standing IEP, then you definitely need to say yes. If they don't have a standing IEP, but you might want to get one, you might want to say yes. But otherwise, say no. Does the school provide a high school diploma? I'm saying yes, I have a senior. But last year, I didn't officially give a diploma out. But because I'd given one the year previous, they told me you had to fill out yes. So basically, I'm assuming I'm going to choose yes until I'm done graduating my kids at this point. My low grade, I literally put in the lowest grade of my child and the highest grade of my child. Classification, non-religious. Once again, this is one of those things that you don't want to get any kind of extra, attention. So I live at 123 XYZ Street in, we'll go with, I don't know their zip code, so we'll go with Fresno. California, 93710. I'm just going to copy my physical address. Here you can have a separate physical address and mailing address. So like traditionally, I do have a mailing address. If you want to send me something, if you want to send me something to review, if you just want to send me a nice note, you can find that down in the details of my YouTube video. But they also need to actually know where you're physically at. Phone number, we'll go 559. I'll go ahead and put in my Google Voice number here. And then a primary email, we'll call it cde@nerdfamily.com. Or CED. CED, we'll call it CED. Next. Has the school's name changed since the last filing of an affidavit? If it has, you just said yes. This one has not. If you have never filed one, the answer is no. Has the public school district in which the private school is located changed since the last filing? Same thing. If it has, say yes. You're just giving them the last information so that way they can stitch these records together in case you ever have an issue and somebody says, well, you didn't file an affidavit for that year because you're in a new district. You can say, yes, I did, and it's all stitched together. And you literally just pick out, excuse me, what the last district was. I had to do that when we moved to this current house. It was no big deal. Youngest in years, we're going to say 10. My youngest is not 10, but you don't need to know exactly. And we'll say 19. I literally just put in my youngest student and my oldest student's age. Enrollment here, you're going to break out the grades. So I got an 8th grader. I got a 10th grader. I got a 12th grader. You'll notice here, it adds it up to 3. Separately, you're also going to come over here and say that you have a certain amount of students. I'm sorry. You just make sure that equals your number of students. You're going to say here how many graduates you have. Or in the previous year, not so far this year. So report the number of students who graduated from 12th grade in the previous year. This is where I had a problem and had to fix it last year because I graduated a student 2 years ago, and then last year I didn't graduate anybody. And they're like, no, because you've given a high school diploma in the last year, you have to offer it. So that's what we did. Full-time teacher, there's me. Part-time teacher, there is the person who signs our work permits. Administrators or other staff, that would be my husband. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put back up an administrator. I like administrator better. He's the principal. Yes, I admit it. I'm sleeping with the principal in my school. Invalid months. Oh, I didn't add months. I'm losing my mind. And then that's the other thing. If you make a clerical error like that, the system will catch you. Site administrator. This is me. This is the individual responsible for day-to-day operations of the school. It may be the same person as other contacts reported on the affidavit. So don't worry about that. My name is Jacqueline. But I'm going to say for this, I am Joey Smith. I don't know why. I just want to. And I'm an administrator. We'll do that. And then down here, I can actually just copy the site administrator. Or what I've always done in the past is I put my husband as director or principal. And then next, you know, it tells you how you're doing on here. The contact of the custodian of records. Now, what that means is private schools are required to maintain some records. The records regarding the specific section, attendance, basically. The course of study offered by the institution. So you can just keep a list of what you're planning on teaching. And the names and addresses, including city and street of the faculty, together with a record of the educational qualifications of each. Okay, don't get caught up in that. I literally just have an old resume. That's it. That's it. You're a person, you're upright, you're qualified. There's no approval. And this is actually just saying that you have that wherever this address is, not that you need to give it to anybody either. So don't worry about that. So Joey Smith is the administrator of this school and is an administrator. This is where they're at. This is where, you're at as a person, I guess. But then the record's location, you have to give them a physical location. This goes back to the physical addresses and stuff. If you're in a PSSP, sometimes they have an office where they keep the records versus someone's home. And you're just saying this is an affidavit. You acknowledge that the above mentioned records are maintained at the address stated and what you're saying is true and accurate. You are none of these things. You are not a tax-exempt nonprofit under the IRS code. You are not a tax-exempt nonprofit under the California Revenue and Taxation Code. You do not qualify for a property tax exemption. If you qualify for all these things, you need to be talking to a lawyer and not me to make sure that all your paperwork is in order. That's a whole nother thing. You can do it, but it's a whole other thing. Going through here, just so you know, this is something that seems to have changed this year. It used to only be if you had more than 6 or more students, but now all private school affidavits are public documents, viewable by the public. The California Department of Education has a lookup tool. You can look up different schools. The private school affidavits must be filed in persons, by the person. So if you can't have someone else fill out your affidavit for you, you as the educator, as the person who is doing it, has to fill this out. Preschoolers need to go through someplace else, it tells you. So for all of you who say you've heard schools ask for authorization or approval, the affidavit is not a license or authorization to operate a private school. Then it comes down here. Just in case you missed that, here's bigger words and more of them. This does not indicate approval, recognition, or endorsement by the state. Filing of this affidavit shall not be interpreted to mean, and it shall be unlawful for any school to expressly or impliedly represent by any means whatsoever the California State, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, State Board of Education, the CDE, or any division of the Bureau of the Department, or in any accrediting agency has made any evaluation. Did we cover that enough? You are responsible for initiating contact with the appropriate local authorities regarding compliance of ordinances of governing health, safety, fire standards, business licensing, and zoning requirements applicable to private schools. Sorry. Don't worry about this. This is if you are a residential facility that only homeschools 4 children, but they're other people's, and you're not homeschooling them, they're actually paying tuition, you're going to have other rules and insurances and things like that. To homeschool your own children, you don't need to worry about any of that. When school ceases operation, basically you have to say that you will give give a permanent record to parents or guardians. That just means that if you're going to be a private school in California, you have to have school records for them to take to their next school. This is similar, as it says in law, about the fact that public school has to give it to you when you're no longer there. You do need to keep a copy of this, and you will get a copy you can print. You need to keep a copy of this for at least 3 years. Don't employ a person who's convicted of a violent or serious felony, or somebody who would be prohibited from employment of public school district pursuant to I'm going to say right here, this is something I don't want to discuss. I don't know much about. If you are a felon or of a violent or serious felony and you're the parent of these children, you're not employed, so I'm assuming you're fine. But at the same time, I am not qualified to make that very niche statement. Talk to a lawyer, talk to HSLDA, talk to somebody like that who might be able to give you a little more insight. But I don't think that's a common problem we're facing with you guys. And then you are saying that you are the school your kids are going to. It's full-time students and are not enrolled in public or private elementary or secondary on a full-time basis. The full-time basis is very important. My high school students are dual enrolled in a public college right now. But I am still their full-time instructor. That's what it means. They're dual enrolled, meaning it goes towards both. So I acknowledge that I've read this and that I'll be good. Then here you just fill this out basically. This is your e-signature. So name of owner or other head of school. Title, that means administrator, principal, teacher, whatever. I would recommend administrator or principal over teacher, but that's just me. And then you put in a personal security question and a security answer. Then you're going to be given a compiled copy of your affidavit to review and submit. That is it. Less than 15 minutes for me to go through all of these things. I promise you will do great. It is not hard. If you have any further questions, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to make sure that I'm available for at least the first 24 hours this goes up on a quick turnaround. Otherwise, I usually check my YouTube comments at least once a day. You can also find us over at Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family on the Facebook group, and I'm sure we will be discussing it there. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.